All right, we're going to do 5, 5. And the warm-up is just asking you to find the slope of each line. If you remember, the slope and the constant of variation are the same thing, and they are the number before the x. So my constant of variation here is negative 2/3, and so is my slope. My constant of variation here is 4, and my slope we're going to write as a fraction, so we'll put it 4/1. And the third one, your constant of variation is 1/2, which leaves your slope also 1/2. Okay? Now, all of these, when we went to graph them, had a starting point of 0, 0. And we said that was because there was no addition or subtraction. So if you add or subtract to the back, then that's what's going to move it off of 0. But since there was no addition or subtraction in these direct variation equations, then there was no movement off of the origin for your starting point. So your starting point was just 0, 0. Today that's going to change, so we're going to kind of see how that changes and where that goes. So we are going to start slope-intercept form, which most of you probably know is y equals mx plus b. You're going to take a couple minutes to do an exploration. So what you're going to do is you're going to have a graph, and you're going to have an xy table, and you're going to plug values in for x that I give you, find the y, plot the points, and then answer the questions that go with that. So you can go ahead and pause this, go to the exploration, finish that up, and then come back and we'll talk about what you found. All right, hopefully we find, so y equals mx plus b, the number in front of your x in this format still is your slope. Okay, so that hasn't changed. The number in front of your x is still your slope. The b this time, so now we've got something being added or subtracted. Hopefully what we found was that whatever b was ended up being the y coordinate of your y-intercept. So I'm kind of particular about how we talk about this. A lot of people just say that b is your y-intercept. Be careful, because if we have like, we'll say y equals 3x minus 2, okay? Your slope is the number in front of your x, so my slope would be 3/1. My y-intercept isn't just negative 2. Like, do not write y equals negative 2. That's a line, okay? You have a y equals, that's a vertical line. So that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for an ordered pair. So the y-intercept, if you remember, if something is on the y-axis, the x has to be 0. We did this in chapter 4. So if you're on the y-axis, the x has to be 0, and then that just leaves that constant of negative 2 to be the y-coordinate. So negative 2 is the y value here of your y-intercept. Okay, so it's the y-coordinate of your y-intercept. And the reason that works is because if you plug 0 in for x into these equations, it wipes out this whole term, because 0 times anything is 0, and the only thing you're left with is the minus 2. Remember, that's the only way to get off of 0 is by adding or subtracting something. So it all comes together and it works really well. So the slope, again, is the number in front of your y, or in front of your x, and then the adding or subtracting is the y-coordinate of the y-intercept. I always want you to write your y-intercept as an ordered pair. And note, this only works if y is by itself, and we'll talk about this more in the coming days, but just be aware that it's not true unless the equation says y equals or f of x equals, okay? So when we only had y equals mx, we just talked about this, our b was 0. We weren't adding or subtracting anything, so our y-intercept was 0, 0. This really isn't different than what we already did. It's just easier to start with just starting at the origin and then build from there, okay? But it was in the same format. There just wasn't, we don't have to write plus 0, but that's essentially what was there. Okay, so instead of starting at the origin when the y-intercept was 0, 0, and your b was 0, now we're going to start at your y-intercept. So it's going to give us a different starting point. So we're going to start at whatever b is on the y-axis. So first thing is you're going to graph your y-intercept 0b. That's your new starting point. So we're no longer going to start at the origin. We're going to start at B. And then it says use the slope to plot 2 points. That's no different. So I want you to have your starting point and then use your slope to plot one point above and 1 point below. Okay? Connect all three to make your line. And then remember, we're always checking ourselves to make sure that the negative slopes go down and our positive slopes go up. Okay, that's a big thing that we miss. So make sure that you're always double checking your lines to make sure they make sense. Okay, so we're looking at this equation and it says y equals. So the fact that the y is by itself, or if it were in function notation, like it could also say f of x equals, it's the same idea, okay? So the y is isolated. So we need two things to graph a line. We need a slope and we need a place to start. So your slope is still the number in front of your x, which is a -2/3. Negative slopes are going to go down from left to right, so just draw yourself a little reminder that it's going to be going down. My starting point needs to be a point. The x is 0 because we're going to start on the y-axis, and then it's going to be a +1 as my y-coordinate because of the +1 at the end. Okay? So the graphing really isn't much different. So the only thing is you're going to start at 0, 1, so you're going to start up 1 on the y-axis. A -2/3 tells you to go down 2, right 3. The opposite of down 2, right 3 is up 2, left 3. And that's really all you have to do. And then you're going to connect your points best you can all the way through your graph. So we just changed the place we started. All right, let's look at this one. We have the y by itself, so it's ready to go. My slope is the number in front of my x, which is 4. Make it a fraction, so put it over 1. It's positive, so we're going to be going up from left to right. And my y-intercept starts with a 0, and then this is my y-coordinate, which is -2. So that's my starting point. So 0, -2 is down 2 on the y-axis, so plot that point first and then apply your slope. So 4/1 is up 4, right 1. And the opposite of that is down 4, left 1. Okay, you can put as many as you want to make it as neat as you want. So if it's easier to connect the points, if you have more of them, then you can do that. Okay. And then it's going up from left to right, which is what I wanted. Okay, you do not have any, oh, one more. Slope. 1/2, positive, going up. Y-intercept 0, 3. Up 3 on the y-axis, up 1, right 2, down 1, left 2. Your line is going up from left to right, which is what you wanted because it's positive. Oof. All the way through your graph, and we're good. All right. No homework. Your exploration was enough, and then we will practice this more tomorrow.